What's going on, party people? Welcome to yet another edition of DJ to DJ. And today I have the honor of having with us the one and only Bill Herman. How are you, my friend? How you doing?
I'm doing really good, and thank you. I think my wife is happy to say that I am the one and only as well. It doesn't have to be more than one of me to bother the hell out of her. So
So we're going to get right into it. And as always, we always talk about our beginnings and how we got started as DJs. So the first question that I have for you was, how old were you when you first discovered the concept of DJing and what it was?
I was 12 years old, actually. Um, I remember the day because, well, the idea of DJing. Yeah, I was 12 because my dad drove me out to a radio station in Frankfort, Michigan, called WBNZ. And it was a brand new radio station. And my dad knew somebody who knew that they were looking for people. And my dad, not knowing that, you had to be, a professional or anything like that, just drove me up there in the yellow station wagon. He told his, spastic ADHD kid, get out of the car, go in there and see if they can give you a job. And I marched across the gravel parking lot and up into the trailer that they had built for the studios and the offices for WBNZ, the 3,000 FM watt
Oh,
powerhouse of a station.
right, right.
And I just walked into the general manager's office, sat down like I was the cock of the walk, and said, "Hey, I'm Billy Herman. You should hire me." And for some reason, this guy started asking me questions. I didn't even stop at his receptionist. I just walked right past her like I knew what I was doing.
Wow.
And instead of kicking me out, he started asking me questions and wanted to know why I wanted to do this. And then he took me under his wing, taught me how to edit my first little radio show, which was a WBNZ's School News and Report with Billy Herman. Every Wednesday at for a 5-minute program, he paid me $5.
Wow.
It would take me all week to put something together, learning it, kind of guerrilla style. And then the morning jock who played the show was Dusty Weatherford, and Dusty Weatherford was the morning man. And Dusty Weatherford he had his own gear, and he did parties. He did parties at my church for the youth group. He did parties at our junior high and high school, and he was always at the fairs and stuff like that. So I would really wanted to learn what he was doing. So
Right.
I followed him around like a little monkey and carried his stuff and begged to play with his equipment. And he was nice to me. And I learned, that's when I kind of realized that this was something you could do. But
Right.
I didn't know anything about it. All I knew was just here's another way for spastic Billy Joe to go out and show off. Right? I did theater, and I wrote for the local. When I did the radio station, and the local newspaper asked me to write for them too. So they had this 12-year-old kid who wrote stories about the local school and did this little radio show and tried out for all the plays and I was a show off.
That's
I didn't think you
awesome.
could make a living as a show off. In fact, Dusty Weatherford didn't necessarily show me that I could make a living.
Right.
He was just out there doing it for chicks and beer, right? Uh, and I think he also used it as a way to for people to get to know him, because he was also, from what I learned after I made it to my 30s, that he was the local pot distributor as well.
Oh, wow.
Something my father was not real happy about, that he knew that I was going to be working around and near Dusty Weatherford, because everybody knew who Dusty was. That's how
That
they
is
knew him.
funny.
Not that he was a radio station guy, not that he was the guy who DJ'd. I'm the only one who didn't know that he also dealt pot. Oh,
Back then, it was that was a little bit of a dangerous business, right?
well, yeah. Well, plus you gotta supplement the DJ income somehow.
Right. Yeah.
None of us were making any money.
Yep. 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 I hear you. So, how did you come across getting your first DJ setup, your turntables, your speakers, and stuff? When did this come about?
I kind of pieced it out as I was growing up. I would buy records. I didn't have a record player. My parents had a big console, one of those big wooden
Yeah.
console record players with the spindle. You put the record on top
Dot
of the
top.
thing, and it would turn around and fall, and the
Yeah.
needle would come up over.
It had
One
a
of those,
built-in radio and
just a
8-track and
huge
everything
piece of
else, right?
furniture. Right, and that's what they had.
Yeah.
I even used that once to DJ, and I'll tell you that
Oh
story
my
later.
gosh.
Uh, but I was collecting records. I had a big record collection before I had anything to play them on, except for my parents' stereo. And then I bought a turntable, and then I had a mixer. I had a pair of headphones, and I just had a bunch of little pieces of equipment here and there over a 10-year period until I
Wow.
had a few things that I could use. Some of it, most of it used. There's people that give me things, and then one day a DJ that I got to know because I worked at a bar in Detroit said that he was going to get a new rig, and if he wanted to know if I wanted his stuff. And he had the coffin and the turntables and the mixer in the middle, and a couple of amps and a couple of old custom with a K speakers. Those things were like as heavy as a Volkswagen, each one of
Right.
them, and they were mid-range speakers, so they really only came up to just above your knee. And he says, "Yeah, I'll sell this to you if you want to." So I paid him a little bit at a time out of the money I was making, and that was my first rig, and even that was old. Even
Wow.
that, was not. It wasn't Technique 1200s. It was like two. It was 12 techniques, but they were like two notches down, right?
Right. Right.
From from
They had the knobs as
1200,
opposed to the
and the
the actual
mixer I
pitch
think
on the
was
pitch
a
control.
realistic. Right. Well, I had a pitch control, but it wasn't very good.
Right.
It was. In fact, I think they were belt driven, and they weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was.
Yep.
I held the cue by holding the slip,
And
holding it on the slip pad. I
it would
didn't
take
really
off.
start it right. But I was really proud of it, and I took it around and did as much as I could. But that was the first time I had a rig that was like it matched,
Right.
right?
Well, wasn't it a
And I
rush?
had,
Wasn't that feeling when you first go out there, when you first put it together and you start messing around with it? I mean, what a
yeah,
rush, right?
yeah. I would bring it home after gigs and set it back up
Yeah.
in my apartment, and keep it up in my apartment, because I knew that if I had girls over,
There you
that
go.
was going to impress them.
There you go.
Right, and my rig, sitting on my two speakers, uh, facing away from them to mix, looking at a wall. It was really impressive. Uh, but yeah,
So,
it was a rush. I mean, I had the power to be able to play my music as loud as I wanted and have everybody hear it.
yeah.
And if they weren't hearing it, I could pay it, into the microphone, pay attention.
Right.
It was a whole look at me kind of a thing. The whole rig was designed for me to get attention, and that's how I saw it. I wasn't cool until until I was a DJ.
That's
Nobody
funny.
wanted to hang out with me. I didn't know anything. I didn't have game when I didn't have a rig, but when I had a rig, I had girls around me, and I still didn't have game. And that's the reason why I wanted the rig, right? So
Hey,
it's
I
just
love the fact. It's funny because I've interviewed other DJs and they tell me, well, I just wanted to learn the art of it and I loved music and this and that. I love that you're being honest and candid. I wanted girls, man. I wanted to pick up on
Oh
chicks.
yeah, no, I was a huge nerd. Look, in my school, I was picked on, I was beat up.
Oh
I
my
was into
gosh.
Shakespeare and poetry and theater, right? I was into music, and I couldn't play an instrument. I played the drums poorly. Okay, I I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be cool, and this made me as cool as I could be, even though I didn't do my high school dances because they wouldn't have thought I was cool there,
No,
right?
right?
And then I had this thing that I didn't necessarily know how to play an instrument, but I could lip sync the hell out of any song I could play, right? I could stand there and look cool. If she wanted something, I could give it to her.
There you
Can
go.
you play this song? Yeah, baby, I got that. That's all it was for me. It was beer
There you
and
go.
beer money and girls. And I had 14 other jobs,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
And I was also auditioning for plays, and I was also, because I was an actor. This
Hmm.
was just another way for me to constantly be in front of an audience and to attract girls, right? And make a little money on the side. I was like, any amount of money to do this, I'll take it.
Right.
It wasn't until much later where I decided that maybe I could take this thing that I got good at, because I wanted to be cool, and maybe not have to do 7 other jobs, so I could do the fun thing I like to do.
Right.
Because I also, certainly, if I went to a bar to meet girls, without the rig, I don't got nothing. Right?
Now,
I got nothing.
let's talk about your acting background
Yeah.
and how that now is a big part. How does that translate into your DJ work today? How does that help you out with what you do?
Well, at the time, I didn't understand how it could because they were two separate things. As an actor on stage, I'm told what to say. I'm quoting from great literature. The plays are designed, they're written, they're directed, they're lit. If everything comes together on a stage, what I do, how I do it, what I say, how I say it, how I look, can emote, and can create an emotion with the people watching me.
Mm.
Okay, and that's that craft, and I'm going to work on that craft all my life because that's going to be me. That's why I'm an actor. DJing was bring a loud bunch of gear, turn it up loud, and let the music motivate the emotion in the room.
Right.
That's the job. Okay. And if I'm and the next job would be, okay, so how do I put these two songs together so that there's a constant energy always going instead of energy, 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 and then energy, energy.
Mm-hmm.
So because that's how you learn, right?
Right.
So this was just another tool for me to keep the energy here or to maybe bring it a little bit, and let the music do the work. The only thing I could do is beat mix. Beat mixing came natural to me because I was a drummer. You know, if you can count and keep a beat, you can beat mix. Okay. And there's other nuances to it as we get older and the more tools we have. But
Right.
at the time, finding the beat, keeping the beat, making a smooth transition, that wasn't that tough for me. But I didn't see that they were the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until, well, I was still doing all kinds of other jobs, right? I mean, because acting didn't pay very well and DJing didn't pay very well. So, and at one point, in the late 80s, early 90s, I got kind of sidetracked into the restaurant business because I worked in the clubs in downtown Minneapolis. And one of the clubs went through managers rather quickly, and I seemed to have a good work ethic. So the owner at one point near the end of the place said, "Would you like to learn how to manage?" And I'm older now, and I'm thinking, well, maybe this is the thing. Maybe this is going to be my way to make a living, you know, until stardom shows up.
Right.
Because that's the only way to make a living as an entertainer. And yeah, okay. So I've got a high school education. I've got a radio trade school thing that cost me, you know, $9,000 for 9 months of a certificate. Wow. So I'm not really qualified for anything, right? So him handing this to me was, okay, I'll learn that. And I did. And I was good at it relatively quickly. And I moved relatively quickly into very high paying jobs. The last high paying restaurant job was at the Mall of America. When it first opened, there was a whole bunch of clubs on the back Upper East Side. And there was a huge company that headhunted me into their place. And they were paying me way more money than I've ever made as a DJ.
Wow.
And when I quit, it was about the time when I realized that this is either going to be my job, my life, and I'm going to be unbelievably unhappy except for the few moments when I get to do something that I love, or I'm going to have to get out. And there's a whole big story about the way I quit, and everybody should quit the way I did at least once in their life, where I just literally burned down everything behind me as I went. And I will not literally throw matches, but I mean,
right.
I threw matches on my career. There's still people who talk about the day I quit. Right. It was horrifying.
You definitely burned some bridges, you could say.
Right. Yeah. And I left with nothing, and I still had this skill. So a couple of my friends who had DJ companies, well, I can, you know, I had no money saved. Well, you can work here, you can work a little bit. And I did this and I did that. And then I met a girl during one of those gigs that I got from a buddy of mine. And when I started thinking that, you know, if I'm going to be responsible for someone other than me, which is, I think, every guy that I ever talk to that either comes to me for training or usually that's about the time that they look at, I'm going to take this seriously. You know, it's just me. I mean, how tough is it to make it to the end of the month and make rent by a few dollars?
Right.
We know how to hustle. We make our money. That's how we did it, right?
Right.
Well, now I'm going to be responsible for my wife and a mortgage and a couple of cars. And I got to I can't do it like this anymore.
Right.
So now if I wanted to do, like my dad always said, find the job that you love and find a way to make a living at it. Yes. I was always convinced that as a DJ or in the DJ world, there's no way to make a living at that. You always had to have several other things. But there was a piece of me that thought, well, maybe so I sat back and I thought, well, if I had to do this for real, what would have to be different? I can't continue to go out the way I was trained by Dusty Weatherford, which was, you know, there was no professionalism in it all.
Right.
So I studied I studied from what I learned about the restaurant business and how you need to show up differently to be able to get people to come to your place as opposed to another, because you can get a burger pretty much anywhere, right?
Right.
So there's an experience to be had. And I knew that I had this skill in theater to be able to create emotion and move people, touch people, inspire people with just a few words. But I have an audience here too. They're both audiences.
Right.
This audience is like a dinner theater audience, but they're not even really expecting. They never go to a wedding expecting anyone to move them. They're expecting chicken, right? And they're expecting a few free drinks.
Right.
And they're expecting that maybe they might hear a toast, but really I'm in a conversation. I'm not really paying attention. So all this stuff is happening, and it's easy to show up that way because those people don't expect anything much more than what we've always done.
Right.
So now if I came differently, how would I do that? And how would I be able to take this and this? And aren't these two the same? Really? They really, really are. There's nothing truly different about them except that we don't use these skills as much as over here. This over here, we are the tech people. We turn on the gear, we turn up the gear, we play the song, we turn up the song, we mix the song, we give the mic away. We might stand and make an announcement, but half the time we don't want anybody to see us or hear us. We talk over a ramp because, of course, they want the ramp. They don't, you know what I mean? You can't be silent. Can't be silent enough to hear me.
Right.
Yet, on a stage with theater, I would never speak while the audience is talking. So it's like, why am I doing this here and this not there? Why aren't I using the skills and the rules of engaging an audience from here? Why aren't I also using it over here?
Right.
And when I started to see that, I realized that there was something that I could make available that it was not being made available. In fact, honestly, I didn't know that it wasn't not being made available, because it wasn't until people started asking me to speak or to do this training stuff, that I found out that everybody wasn't doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
especially
everybody
back in the day.
Everybody was still kind of stuck where I was.
Right. Right.
What was that?
I said, especially back in the day. Early on, DJs were just coming out to spin the music, and not very many of them got on the mic, made announcements the way we do today, what we're used to today. Mm-hmm. And it kind of
when
evolved.
I first made announcements, I did it like radio taught you. You talk to ramp, right?
Right.
And you're in a booth. So the first time I was behind a rig and had an audience in front of me, I have radio in my head where I'm in a booth and no one's looking at me. I've got the clock, I've got the thing, I got a mirror maybe. You know, I can't even look at behind me and see who might be watching from the small window in the door.
Right.
So when I made that announcement in front of those people, I did this, and I turned my back on the audience, looked at the wall behind me to say what I had to say, because it didn't seem natural to look out into the eyes of those people, even though I do that here in theater with a play.
Right.
I have to engage the audience, or they don't. But I didn't. I saw radio DJing and DJing a party, same thing. Never spoke unless there was a ramp. Right. Never let any dead air happen, ever.
Right.
All of those things, as called verboten in radio, are gifts in theater. A dead, silent pause is beautiful.
Yes, it's priceless.
500, 600, 800 people. It sits them on the edge of their seat waiting for whatever comes out of your mouth next. But why we don't do it here? There's this line.
Yes. And
I was worried about it too. Now I'm finding out that there's still a lot of guys that that's all they know, that the definition of this is this. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's a lot of guys out there making a good living doing that definition. What I found was, if I brought these skills to here, I could have an impact in a room that none of my guests would ever expect. No one could say they've seen anybody else do. No one's been able. I've never seen a DJ wrap the attention of a room down to silence, anticipation, and excitement before they say make an announcement. One of the first things I try to teach the guys in the class, and they go, "Oh God, what do you mean?" Like, yeah, next time, wait until everyone is silent. It's terrifying. Right. It's terrifying for me.
Yeah.
Right? But it's powerful. And when I started bringing those two together is when I started to have success. And the success was such that I was able to not have to do any other things. And I didn't want to have a big company. In restaurant, I managed the last place I was with, I had 500 people under me.
Wow,
You know,
that's a big
managing
restaurant.
people was not that fun a job,
Yeah.
right? I really just wanted to be on the stage where I booked all the bands and I booked all the entertainers and the comedians and the DJs. And I'm back. I know the business part of it. I just didn't want to do it anymore. Or at least if I was going to do it, it was going to be the thing that would push me on stage,
Mm.
as opposed to I'm going to book the guy on stage, which, who knows, that might end up being the thing I end up doing later down the line when people stop. That I'm anything they want on a stage.
Now, you
So
touched
if I age
briefly.
out of this, what the hell?
You touched briefly right now. You mentioned teaching. Now, you help
Yes.
DJs not just here in the U.S. but pretty much all over the place. Tell me about
Mm-hmm.
the entertainment experience and what you're doing with that.
Well, the entertainment experience was built out of a speech I was asked to do in 2009 or 2010 by John Young with Disc Jockey News. He and I put together a couple conferences here in Minnesota. And when there was at a point where I was always emceeing, he asked me to do a speech. And this is when I kind of wrote down all these ideas that I'm kind of telling you about now.
Mm-hmm.
And after an hour-long speech, which they were nice about, what I found out was the problem with the speech is that nobody knew what the hell I was talking about, and no one really understood how to put these things into place. Because I was talking about, like I just said, I was talking about this theatrical pieces. I thought everybody's thought this way. I didn't really think I had anything to share that people didn't actually know. And afterwards, John was the one who says, "People don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you should teach this." And I was always mentoring people. And yeah, I kind of did. People like you would call me up and say, I don't know what's going on. Is there an idea that you have, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe, so I'd tell them what I'm thinking, and I was helping a lot of guys. And finally, it was my wife who said, I don't have a problem with you spending all this time trying to help DJs and do the associations and speaking at the conferences and doing all the personal mentoring. She says, but you're taking time away from us. So this is either you find a way to be compensated and do it well and being compensated, or maybe you should back off a little bit and give us that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I still like doing it. So the entertainment experience workshop was built in 2010. It was a one-day thing that was really well received. And then within another year and a half, I turned it into 2 days. 2 days that just had more impact. And dove down real deep into all of the bits and pieces that I talk about, and all the bits and pieces about a great theatrical performance that are necessary to be able to have it happen. Because the actor on stage is like 1/32 of what's actually happening.
Right.
The lines are one of those things, and the lighting now, and the theater, and the staging, and the transitional pieces, and all of that stuff to be able to come together to create one moment is what I talk about that exist within the events that you do, whether it be a wedding or whether it be a club gig or wherever it is. Once you have an
Right.
audience and a microphone, you've got the power to make all these things happen, if in fact you wish to or not. And when I started talking about this and doing the workshop, I thought it would be a couple of years. People would be like, this is nice. There's some people who really think I had something to say. So of course they're going to come and they're going to pay me, and that'll be nice. But it's been going on since 2010. And it's not slowing down. The only thing that's got it slowed down right now is that this year I'm going to have to do this online.
Yeah.
And I'm telling people that I'm doing it, but I'm honestly trying to still kind of work out exactly how it's going to show up. Because in the past, it's a Monday and Tuesday, starting at 8 a.m. and go until 5:30 at night.
Wow.
And it's done, right? Now, no one's going to sit with me on this for more than 3 hours.
Right.
Tops.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this for more than 3 hours, right?
Right.
So the workshop itself is now going to be over 6 days, and it's going to be 3 hours a piece over 2 weeks. So in November on the 16th, 17th, and 18th, and then the 23rd, 24th, and 25th.
Excellent.
And that'll be the workshop dove down on and actually interactively worked out for people so that I can make good on the promise that if you're going to do this with me, I'm going to make an impact on your life and on your business. And if I wasn't doing that, I don't know. If I could write a book and make this kind of impact that I've had on these 200 people that have come and taken this over the years,
Wow.
I would, because it would be easier.
But
But
the cool thing that I see is that it doesn't just entail towards DJs, but it also entails, to public speakers and a big array. So it's not just geared toward DJs, but it's geared towards other professionals that may have to come out and speak at public engagements and expos and seminars and things of that nature. So,
right.
and that's what I found it very, very intriguing when I saw it, because I mean I found out about you at Mobile Beat my first year. You were speaking there, and I was just like sitting there like going, wow, he's got a lot of knowledge, man. And just what I liked about you was the eloquence that you had, your presence on stage. Different from like Rob Foray. I like Rob Foray's style, but he's more, this. But your eloquence and your style was more. It just drew me into. I wanted to hear what you had to say. I mean, you weren't boring. You weren't. It was just, and I think that now I understand. Learning more about you and your acting background, your radio background, it just speaks a lot about why it becomes, I think, so easy for you. You also talked about briefly about how now DJs, it is what we do at weddings or in events. It is a production. It is kind of like a play, because it's sound, it's lighting, it's presenting, it is being that center, piece that's gonna engage the audience. It's not like we were talking about earlier, like back in the day, where we would just come in, put our speakers up, a couple of lights, and play the music, and that was it, and we were in and out, like you said, for beers and girls, and that's what it was. But now, looking at it, if you want to take it and be professional about it and monetize it, and make it a business, you have to make it a production. What's your take on that and how things are today?
Well, I have a difficult time with have to. I mean, people don't have to, and the proof of it is that there's guys out there still going out and putting up gear and playing the music and getting paid and going home.
Yeah,
And there's
that's
nothing,
true.
honestly, nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is not that you have to do it, is that it's available to you, whether or not you take advantage of it. Because the thing that's beautiful about the theatrical techniques that I use is that once you walk into any public event, even just as a guest, there is a theatrical experience happening already.
Yes.
People already experience, when you go to a restaurant, you experience it from the story's point of view. And there's a story being told in the way that you're feeling it as you walk through the door, and the way the light changes from outside to inside, the smells, the odors, the way that you're presented to the place, how you're taken to your seat, the things you brought, the things happening around you, the music being played, how your food is being presented. That's all happening. Okay. And if you really want to make a huge impact and say that you did it, then because they're happening, the opportunity is that you are able to actually impact those things. There is a story happening in the room, in my head, when I walk into a room. Okay, so that's happening without you doing anything.
Right.
But if there's a story happening in everybody's head that comes in the room, you could be the person who draws all their minds together on the one narrative. Because what's great about one specific moment at a wedding, and I talk about weddings a lot because that usually has the most moving pieces. But anything, if the whole room has one group experience around one thing for one moment, they're all come together on, then the whole room gets to have that experience together. And then that little bit is the thing that you talk about in this 8-hour day. Exactly. That became the 8-hour day. It's that little moment. And normally those things will happen by accident, maybe, sorta. But if I know that people are experiencing the staging, how it looks, how it smells, how it feels, how I see it, okay, everything there, not only the actor, but the things behind the actor, not only the DJ, but the things behind the DJ, not only the bride and groom, but the things behind the bride and groom. I'm experiencing this 3D thing. As I lean in and give you my attention, I'm like watching a TV screen, right? Or I'm in theater. So that's happening in my brain and everybody else's brain. You know that now. What could you do, being the person that understands what's behind stage, what's backstage with their experience? What could you now do with just the idea that staging is really impactful and important.
Yeah.
Even as not a DJ, take 10 minutes, 5 seconds, whatever it takes for you to think, what could I do now to impact that staging to give them a better experience?
Exactly.
Or give them the experience even better that you want them to have, or better than that, what your client wants them to have. Yeah. Now the backdrop becomes important when the bride says, I want elegant and romantic. Well,
yes.
Let's start with how it looks, right?
Yes.
And how it feels. And the photograph, when all of a sudden the cameraman comes in there and takes his picture, he doesn't have to put you in the right angle or we give you the right light. The backdrop has done it for you already.
Exactly.
And all you did was know that it was available and you could impact that with telling them.
Exactly.
And that's well ahead of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether or not it's the story and how you want people to feel. Well, the bride and groom want them to feel this way. Well, how am I going to present myself if elegance and romance is what they want to feel? Yeah. And now I have to speak. Give some thought to how you would speak, the words you would use, when you would say it, how you would say it, if there's music playing behind you or not, to be able to convey that romance and elegance will be in everything that you have to listen to. It's coming out of my mouth. I'm the loudest guy in the room. I have the impact I can create. Can you do it with just doing it? Maybe, maybe not.
Right.
But you certainly can't do it if you don't know that you can.
Exactly.
So the whole workshop is, this is a knob in the room. The story, okay, the volume, the lighting, the staging, the transition between one piece to another, the smooth of the story happening inside the person's head. These are all things that if you knew they're available to you and they were knobs in the room and you knew where the knobs were, wouldn't you want to turn it up when you knew that right about now everybody will cry if I could just turn it up just a little bit?
Just that tad, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what this is. It's not... It's and do people have to do it? I think it's a crime and a shame that it's there at your disposal and you don't do it.
You don't do it. Exactly.
But the event will be fine. There's plenty of fine events.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Every person who's ever been to an event, or especially wedding receptions, find 50 people that you know and ask them how many weddings they went to that were more, and not your clients, but people who just go to weddings.
Right.
And say, name me 3 weddings in the last 50 you went to that were more than fine. Because if you've been to one wedding, you've been to all the weddings. Because there's been a format of weddings for years, and it doesn't even change much when you go from country to country. Okay, the format is the format is the format. That's why when you go to a wedding, you're not expecting to see something different. You walk in going, well, this will be what I know it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's that gift box where they wrapped it up like a present. I knew that was going to be here, right? Oh, look at that. They're the bride and groom. They're all over there. And, oh, look at the table. They got a big one in the middle. In the front of the picture.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Show the pictures of the bride's parents and the grandparents. Speeches. Oh, they didn't even have the guy's not even using the mic. I can't even hear him. So why don't I just go to the bar? They're all at the bar. All of these things you already do, and you're in the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, these people don't. There's an opportunity for you now to create something really amazing. And now take my class. I want you to take my class. My wife, now that I've been doing it a few years, I can't quit. Okay, so she likes the fact that I got a second business that I didn't think I wanted. So I have it for people. But this isn't what you get out of the workshop. Was we get all these time to really just bear down on, dude, you want this.
Right.
You're doing fine. You didn't come to my workshop because you were going broke, right? You're already fine. You just wanted another point of view, which is really, in a nutshell, what I give people. I give you a chance to see your job from my eyes. And from my eyes, you'll start to see that, oh my gosh, there's roads that I could have gone down.
Exactly.
Oh, all these avenues. I was stuck because I pretty much had this figured out.
Yeah.
Right? I figured out everything. I'm bulging with the information from the walls that what a DJ is. Mm-hmm. I can't learn anymore, that's the way everybody is. Everyone's evolution comes from that new point of view. Well, if I give you 2 days, 3 days, 6 days of a new point of view, and you don't see new avenues that you could go down for evolution for what you want to do, whether it be your performance or your marketing or your business or your price point or whatever that is, I'm not doing my job.
Right.
Because I've learned more about what I do and what we do and what is possible for us by trying to drill down on what's available as to what I was trying to do. Writing down what you do teaches you a lot about what you really do and why you do it. Most of us just do because it comes natural, right? We've just been doing it. Hey, I read a crowd. I don't know how to read a crowd. I just do. Well, yeah, there's a process. You just haven't given any thought.
Yeah.
That has been my learning curve with this. Is learning this, I learn more from every time I do one of these workshops. I learn more and more about the craft of all this and what's available from not only having to look at everybody's perspectives and my own again, and to be able to open up into those different points of view, but from them sharing what they're going through. Yeah. I had somebody tell me once, because when I was kind of going down the road of, if I'm going to be a teacher, I really should master what I'm doing. That mastery really isn't getting to a thing. Its mastery is the journey of getting to a thing, which is, that's easy to kind of wrap your brain around, right?
Yeah.
Well, they said, well, you do all these things, you take all these classes, you go out and you get as good as you can. What's the next step? Where's the real serious big step from that to mastery? It's teaching. Having to take what you know and put it in the head of another. Not because they have to do it that way, but because you need to, if you can teach how you do and what you do and why you do, then you become better. Everything I try to give somebody, I get back tenfold. Every time I help somebody, I get it back tenfold. And not because they help me, but because it's very much like, what our parents said, you can't be loved if you don't love, right? Mm-hmm. You can't have without giving. So I'm not going to feel love if I can't give love.
Right.
And I can't feel, I want to feel that feeling of newness and excitement about learning something new about my job and how, and my vocation, and the art form that I work on. I want to feel that newness all the time, and I can't have it unless I'm trying to give it. And that's why I don't necessarily see that I can quit doing this, because I don't know everything, but I have something for people, and everybody comes to me in a different place. Some people are really, really new to it. I've got people that took the thing and never did a wedding in their life.
Right.
And I've got guys that have been doing it for 40 years. And it's not about whether you know how to turn your stuff on and mix it. That you can give me 2 days and I can teach anybody who doesn't know how to mix. It's just practice, right?
That's all it is.
It's not that tough. You might not be mixing great, but if you can count 1, 2, 3, 4 along with a piece of music, you can mix.
That's it. Okay?
Might not be great, but you're probably doing better than most of the guys that never learned that much.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, am I the only one that's surprised sometimes that when I go to a club or when I go to and watch some other DJs, that some of them are still playing a song and then letting it fade before they let the next one start?
To this day, there's still some people that do that.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. It surprises the heck out of me.
I thought it was just a few. There's a lot. And I think that was the first thing I was taught.
Oh my gosh.
The DJ that was teaching me would throw stuff at me from his table if I didn't mix in the right place.
Right.
It was ridiculous. He was like, if you can't learn this, you got to get out of my club. But yet, I've hired DJs that are like, oh yeah, the DJing part, I didn't even ask him about.
All right.
I want you to DJ, I'm going to do the emceeing. I just figured that's the thing you got to learn before you can get paid to do it, right?
Right. No, there's some, and it's funny because you talked about that there's some DJs that they're out there and they're all like, yeah, they're still doing it for beers and girls, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But those are the guys that they're just there for that, they might have it as a hobby, they might have a regular day job, and they don't mind making a couple of $100 extra bucks, on the weekends. But for us, that this is our livelihood, this is our business, this is how we pay our bills, how we feed our families, This is what we do. And that's what I was talking about, like when I said you kind of have to, and you said not really have to, but it's like to take it to the next level. You were talking about an important factor that when people come to a wedding, it's like it's going to be the same thing. The speeches, this, and that. What one can bring is to create that emotional reaction that people have that you don't really get at weddings because it's become kind of routine. But if a person that is doing this like you and I mean, we go out there to create that emotional reaction, that thing that's going to get them to, like you said, it's kind of like the way I see it is like at a movie. When you go to a scary movie, you're going to a scary movie to get scared because you want to go, oh, shoots, that thing popped out of nowhere. You know what I mean? You go see a love story, you want to get teary-eyed, you want to get emotional. And a wedding is a love story, you know what I mean? And you want to get that happy emotional reaction from people, whether it's through a beautiful video slideshow synced up to a nice speech by the bride or the groom or the father or the bride, whatever it might be. You get that emotional reaction. You get people tearing up. You get people, but it's something beautiful, something that's going to penetrate their mind and stay with them and make that wedding memorable, you know, and make it to where it sticks with them to say, wow, you know what? That was so cool. And it's not just about coming in and, you know, because you're going to have people that are going to complain about the food. They're going to complain about this, you know, whether they danced or not and stuff like that. You can create an experience to entertain people through many different levels, whether it's during the dinner with a beautiful speech and during the first dance with dancing on the clouds, some beautiful sparklers popping up at right at the moment when the groom dips the bride, you know what I mean? Little things like that make people go, wow, you know? Just little surprise factors and putting in a production element. Not so much just routine. Okay, now it's time for the toast, and now it's time for this, now it's time for that. A lot of DJs do that, you know? And the thing is to try to create an element of surprise to where it's like, boom, it's just there. I
Yes.
always revert to my wedding. I literally had my brother and a couple of friends. I said, this is what I want you guys to do. You know, we had a mariachi that was going to perform during dinner. As
Yeah.
people were coming in, we had just some nice dinner music. And then I told the mariachi, I don't want you to come in until this moment. We had the doors closed. So people were expecting another song when all of a sudden you just heard the trumpets, the live trumpets coming in. And everybody freaked out, turned around. And it was like, oh, cool, a mariachi. We weren't expecting it. We didn't announce it. We didn't say nothing. We just made it happen. And it's those little surprise elements, production, you know, that comes into it. And that's kind of like what I was getting at earlier with
Yeah,
what you were
absolutely.
saying.
You're absolutely correct. The one thing you got to be careful of too, though, is that it's not just the surprise ideas. A lot of these guys, they hear me talk, and then they'll hear you talk and say, "Oh, that's it. That's the all I got to do is go in mariachi.
Yeah, no.
I got to open the doors." Okay, the idea is sound. Okay, even what you were saying about well, we do a speech and we do a thing and then we do a thing and we do a thing. Even that format is sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that no one gives any thought to how you might set up. If you do all those things, but then you do them in such a way that they lean into them and give them an experience of being a part of the format,
Exactly.
then you still are just as impactful as if I surprised you with a mariachi band or with the bride and groom coming in on ropes, you know, and rappelling into the room. Those are great. I love doing those things, and I do a lot of them. But honestly, if you can do what you always do, but if you look at it differently every time and understand that in the moment that you're doing it, you take advantage of the necessary moments to be able to draw them into the really bad speech. Because what I tell people is, I can throw surprises at your wedding all day, but we don't want to just hope that surprise works.
Right.
We don't want to hope that when I can make the most boring idea be the thing they talk about. Because the way it's set up, the way the theatrics of it all works out,
Exactly.
that everyone is emotionally now attached to the bad speech,
Exactly.
right? To the guy who doesn't know how to talk. But we set it up in such a way that he fumbles through a speech and everyone, all 300 people lean into it. No one, you know, gets lost, right?
Right.
Because you set it up and you set up the story and you put the why they should pay attention and why this is important and all of the emotion and the feels of it that are there. So everyone goes, yeah, no, I got it. You're right. I never do this at weddings, but today I'm going to lean in. I'm really going to be a part of this thing that I think I've seen a million times. Boy, I saw a first dance the other day at this guy's wedding, and it was like so meaningful. Well, the last week, he was at another wedding that was set in the same song, two people dressed very much the same amount of people in the same venue. This one impacted him and this one didn't. This one, the guy played the song. This guy set the room up for what the song was going to do for all of them and all of these people.
Exactly.
And I'm not trying to take away from the idea that wonderful surprises are because people want to be surprised. No one is ever surprised at a wedding. So one small surprise is one thing that people will talk about for ages because it's like, I didn't expect to see it.
Right.
Right. Oh my gosh, the chicken sauce was so incredible. It's nothing. But it was like I've been having chicken sauce at this place for years, right?
Right.
But they had the one day where they had some cranberries in it. But if you now they did cranberries, do you have to do anything about that big change? No, but you have can you, as the person who has the mic and the responsibility to be able to make sure that they have the best experience possible, can you make sure that that cranberry sauce is 10 times better because you were in the room? Of course, we know we can. And the thing that people are afraid of is like, I got cool ideas, I got sparklers, and I got smoke, dancing in the clouds, and I got all things, but I can't promise that everyone's going to be, oh my God.
Right. Right.
But you can if you take on the stuff that you think is the magic, right? It's like, okay, well, Bill's in theater, and Bill knows how to do that. He's kind of doing that without thinking. Well, no, I'm not. I mean, I was until I put it down on paper and I said, here's a class on how to do it. Here's what you got to be thinking about. So it's not now that I can only do that. It's like you can too, because it is naturally happening. All you got to know is, like I used to tell people, it's kind of like the first time you ever got a smartphone, right? You know how to use it right away. No one had to teach you how to turn it on and to swipe and to find, go online and go to Facebook and do texting and find Snapchat. Nobody had to teach you that, okay? But there was a guy who made it. And if he takes the glass off, he can take over a small country with this little device. He knows everything it'll do, every way that he can really take over the way you think, because he knows. Well, this is what I'm saying is in every event has a piece of glass over it that we all know how to do. And you are the only one in the room that knows what happened, where the circuits are.
Right. That's
right.
True.
And people ignore it. I ignored it for years. Come home from an event where my wife, I'd be like, it was okay. Well, why didn't it go so well? Well, I was there early and I set up, but they only wanted me to start till 8. So they had all the dinner and the speeches and everything. And then they had this big one. The dinner was done by 7. So we just sat there waiting until 8 o'clock. And then we started at 8. And I had to kind of start over because everything was like, they all went, yay. And now we're drinking and I'm having a conversation. And I got to force my way into them to get them out to the thing.
Yeah.
And I said, if they would have just paid me the extra hours to be available and impacting the room from the moment people arrived, so that the transition from this to that, to that, to that, to when I got to the dance, people would just be tearing their butts up in the dance floor. It would have been great. And my wife said, well, you know that, right? I said, yeah, I know exactly how to do that. She goes, well, why are you making it an added price? Why don't you just do that? Well, if I could have done this, well, who said you couldn't do that? That's what she was pretty much saying.
Right.
And we do that all the time with our buddies at a late night after the gig at Denny's. Man, if they would have let me do this and this and this, why didn't you talk to them before the event and tell them that if you let me do this and this and this, we can have that? Oh my God, I'd love to have that. Yes, I'll let you do that. But we don't. We haven't really taken apart what we do like a cell phone. We haven't taken the glass off and looked. And when we do, we go, yeah, where's my music? Can I just do what I know how to do? I'm afraid that I might be blamed if I hit the wrong circuit. And if you're doing all these things for the right reasons, it's almost impossible to hit the wrong. Well, it is impossible to hit the wrong circuit. You may not be as good at it as me, who's been doing it for 30 years, but you're on the same path and you did do it because you did it for the right reasons, which is the end all and be all. At the end of all of this stuff, once I show you all this stuff, once you learn all the things you can learn from all the people out there that can train you, and not just DJ trainers, but any acting coaches or any voice coaches, they're still going to say, okay, so now why are you doing it? Because why you're doing it is the most important part.
Exactly.
Why are you doing it for you? Beer and girls, that's for me. Okay? I'm going to have an impact on me. Okay, and if maybe you're impacted, good for you. But I'm here for me, right? But to make sure that everything you do has the impact on those people who are a part of what you're doing. Everything you do now impacts everyone else. And the reason you're doing it is for everyone else. And there's nothing in there that's about you. Then you can't. It's difficult to fail.
Yeah.
Unless you just don't know how to turn the gear on. But I've even seen that. I've seen brides and grooms help the guy with the gear to get it turned on.
Oh my gosh.
Because his heart is in on. That's why they want their brother to do it. You know that, right?
Right.
It's not because they think their brother's good at it, because their brother has them at heart.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for chicks and beer. They're not doing it to look cool. They're doing it for their sister.
Exactly.
Now show up that way, even with what you know now, even without taking one class, you're already going to show up in a way that 99.9% of any DJs, bands, MCs, people that comedians, balloon animal people, they're not really there for the client.
Nope.
There are a few, and you know who they are because they're you know who they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And their reputation precedes them. You know, I don't know why they're such great, but well, that's it right there.
Yeah.
They're not there for anybody but the person paying them.
Exactly.
And they'll do anything.
They go the
sure
extra
the person
mile.
paying
You know,
them has
they
what they
take the time to talk to them and ask them questions and, you know, to create that atmosphere, which is, you know, very
Well,
important.
you have to. If the goal here is to do anything it takes to make sure they have the greatest day of their life, how can you do that and not ask a bunch of questions?
Right. Right.
It's the chicken and the egg. Oftentimes, for some people, it's like, oh, okay, Bill, I get that. Okay, so what are the questions I should ask? Oh my gosh, if the why is there, is that you're there to be sure they have the greatest day of their life, and it doesn't matter how you look. Now tell me what questions you should be asking, because it isn't about that. Okay, how curious are you? How much information do you need to be sure that their day is amazing?
Exactly.
You don't need any. That's great. Good for you. I need so much. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I need to know these people, like, so I never have to look at my hand and remember their name.
Exactly.
Ever.
Exactly.
I need to know their mom and their dad. I need to know what their mom and dad think of what's happening that day. I need to know if her mom and dad even liked him at the time, or if he's, if the parents, which parents are being jerks, right?
Right.
Where's the drunk uncle? I need to know all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, then I'm guessing, and if I'm guessing, I have to guess around, well, what's going to make me look the best?
Right. Right.
Okay, making me look the best has no longer a thing anymore. I look best in t-shirts and a jeans and a t-shirt rather, if I'm there for the right reasons. And the right reasons, that's hard for those of us that are professional show-offs. It took me a long time. I know what I am. You know, I like attention. I'm a sick human being. You know, I found a job where I stand in an audience. I stand in front of an audience on a stage, and I beg them to love me. Okay, I need therapy. We all are. We all deal with it. The DJ, band, musician, comedian, storyteller, actor. The ones that find the peace, the ones that start to feel the art starting to impact the people who pay us, really take on that this is no longer about you. Anything you do.
Yep.
Okay, everything we do without thinking now. If you've done this for more than a year, you can DJ without thinking. You know what sets to play. You can go to the sets that you know work. You don't even have to be creative,
Yeah.
right? You don't. You can be successful.
Exactly.
Okay, so now what? You look about as good as you're going to look.
And that's about it. Right.
You know what you wear. You know how to look. You know what smile to make. You know what to say at the right time.
Then you go with it.
But that they don't care. They don't care. They want to know how you. Go back to Maya Angelou. They don't care. Well,
Yeah.
They don't care about you until they know how much you care about them.
Exactly.
And that's a real thing. And that will change who you are as a person, much less a DJ, much less a DJ company, if you can really take it on. Not just take it on as this quote that's on your wall, but like take it on.
Exactly.
And it's hard.
But it can be done. It can be
There's
done.
so much about my life that's really about me. You know, pay attention. I'm going to do a dance for you. Come to my show, please. I'm really amazing.
Right.
That's hard to turn off because that's the thing that gets you where you want to go. Our ego is our best friend. It's the thing that gets us where we want to go, but it also can be the worst enemy.
Exactly.
In how you are perceived and what you can do for your clients.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Bill, we are coming up very short on time here, so we're gonna end this amazing conversation that we've been having. I love it. Thank you so much for your time. Real quick, what's next for you, and what can people look forward to?
Well, what's next? Okay, so there's absolutely no certainty in the world. I mean, I don't know. I would love to tell you that I have all kinds of things lined up on the calendar. I have meetings. I've got Zoom calls. I've got people who want to talk to me about their upcoming wedding because they're afraid that the boogeyman's going to get them, and we got to change things. And there's a lot of turmoil and worry and uncertainty. So for me right now is to lean into those people's needs and try to be there and give them whatever I can. The only thing I've really got scheduled on the books right now are a couple of client events that are probably going to change just because nothing is the same right now. And the online workshop, which I'm doing in November. And I was still sitting on whether or not I was going to do that until I realized that there's no way to know how it's going to work out until I do it. I've got a really good plan in place to be sure I can deliver for people. I'm not charging as much as I have in the past for these 6 days. And it's a different experience because of the fact that we are not necessarily all in the same room. But I'm going to make it available to people.
It's great.
And I'm going to try to be as impactful for all of them as I can be. And then I'm going to evolve after what we learn about it.
Excellent.
And that's coming up November 16th, 17th, and 18th, which is at a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then for the last 3 days are November 23rd, 24th, and 25th. This is the week before Thanksgiving and the week of Thanksgiving.
Well, we're definitely going to be sharing all that information so that everybody can check it out and register.
But I just picked these dates the other day.
Really?
So I don't necessarily have them out.
Okay. Well,
the actual workshop, it's going to be the 16th, 17th, and 18th here in the Twin Cities. There's 2 workshops that go with that. This is going to be the 2-day workshop over 6 days time. Because I'd love it if everybody would lean into a Zoom call for 8 hours, but
right.
You're getting tired of me and we've only talked for an hour.
Just an hour.
Right.
Not getting tired of you, enjoying it
as quickly as possible.
Well, I have to thank you for something. A few weeks ago, I kind of had a little thing that I was going through and, making a lifestyle change. And I started watching you on Facebook every single day. Now, you've been walking for over 500 days now. 500 plus days. I think it's like you're like at what 514 or something like that.
Yeah, that's today. Yes. Well, today was. Well, that's not when this is airing, but yeah.
Right. But nevertheless, I started thinking about making some lifestyle changes. And I started watching you, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna start doing what Bill is doing now. I'm not doing it every single day, but I'm going out there.
Why not?
I'm walking a couple of miles.
Why don't you do it every day?
I'll get there. I promise you. But I'm starting slow.
Okay, here's what you do. Alan Marshall and I came up with this, and it's great. He calls it his 90-day challenge. Okay, so here's the or 60. It might be 60-day challenge, but you go out the first week every single day for 10 minutes. Okay, that's 7 days. The next 7 days, do 20. The next 7 days, do 30, and then stay on 30. For the next month. And then after that, you've done 60 days. And once you get to 60 days, you have the beginnings of the embedded habit of doing this every single morning. Now, don't have to go out. I'm doing a 5K walking every single day. That's not necessary. Not for anybody who starts. And I wasn't going to do that. Okay. But do 10 minutes a day. Yeah. And don't even try to go more. I got 10 minutes. I'm good. You write it down. You mark your calendar. You send, if you want to use me as a person you need to check in with, then every day send me a text. Did my 10 minutes. Perfect.
There you go.
I don't see one on one day. I'm going to ask you.
I got to tell you what inspired me was as you're walking, you're live on Facebook, chatting away. And I started to do the same thing. One of the things that I'm kind of weird about is like, I like working out with other people, but sometimes you don't have that. You don't have that, the ability, especially right now because of the situation.
Right.
So I did what you did. I started, I call it the DJ walk and talk, and I just start yapping. And next thing you know I'm already over a mile, and and it's funny because this last week, I literally started feeling myself walking a little faster. And these last 3 days, my last little stretch, I started just trotting now. Now I'm just doing
my gosh, you're actually running?
Yeah, so I'm doing it's not long, but I'm
slow down. That's wrong. That's not good. No running, please. Oh dear Lord.
I got to tell you, it's a short distance, but I want to get, I want to feel that,
Yeah.
and it's working. It's working. I mean,
You
my
can
wife
do
is
this,
saying,
man.
man,
You can do this. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it every single day.
well,
In fact, I wasn't gonna. You know the story, right?
I don't.
Okay, so real quickly, I know we're over. Alan had been walking for like 4 months, okay, and I hadn't seen him. And it was at the last DJ conference, last Mobile Beat we were at, which was 2019. And I hadn't seen him for a while. When I saw him, he was down like 60 pounds. I'm like, oh my God, how did you do this? He goes, well, I've been dieting a little bit. I didn't really make any changes. He says, except for the fact that I'm walking every day. Well, that's everybody knows you can get one. No, he says, I'm walking every single day. He says, I started out, well, I can't do his accent. He's from Great Britain. But he says, I learned, somebody told me that they had you go out every day for 10 minutes until you can do 12 and then 13 and 14. And he says, after a month, I was doing 30 minutes a day. Now he says, I'm doing 5 miles a day. And I'm not really working that hard at it. I'm just walking. And I'm like, okay, so I can do that. And he goes, okay, so how about while we're at the conference, these 7 days, because we stayed in the same hotel. And if we walked to the conference, it was about 2.5 miles. We'll walk every day there. We'll walk every day back. Awesome. I get up early. I'm in my suit and we're off. Well, every day we get to the conference and I'm oh my God, I'm sweating through my suit. It's like, I'm wringing out my shirt. He's laughing. We did it every day. And when we leave, I'm like, he goes, you going to keep going? I'm like, I don't know. Probably. Sure. I said, but you're not with me. I like walking with people. I like, I'm like you. I'm a social person.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll do. Why don't we walk with each other like on video? Well, yeah, but he's 6 hours. It's at noon. It's 6 o'clock at night for him.
Right.
And when he walks in the morning, it's 6 a.m. for me or 5 a.m. for me. So okay, well, we're not going to do that. Well, how about if we just send each other a video? We'll hold up a video. Hey, I'm walking today. You can tag. You're it. We'll do that. So I get back on that Saturday, and he hadn't done it yet. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the first one, and I'm going to trash talk him. So I get out there with my phone, and I'm walking. Hey, here I am, man. I got this. See, I told you I'd do it. I'm better than you are. I'm rocking. I'm going to do. In fact, I'm not doing 10 minutes a day like you started. What's I'm going to do 30 minutes, period. I'm going to really rock this walk, man. And I'm just trash talking the hell out of him. And I said, you know something? I know what I'll do. I'll do this not only every day for 30 minutes, but I'll do this every single day. 365 days. Okay. No stopping, no breaks. That's what I'm doing. 365 days. Beat that, you limey. And I hit my button. I put it in my pocket. And I'm like, okay, so let's see what he says to that. And I kept my walk going. And all of a sudden my phone went bing, 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 bing. I'm like, what the hell is he telling me? Well, I had accidentally Facebook Lived it. I hadn't sent it to him. I sent it to everybody I knew.
Oh my gosh.
So now, and I had every intention in a couple of days to go, he's not going to give me crap. What is he going to come for me and beat me up? Okay. We're just messing with each other. I'm not going to keep going. No one's going to do this, right?
And now it's on.
The first 100 days were horrible. All I did was complain. This sucks. This is awful. I don't know why anybody does this. If anybody does this because of me, they'll know. They won't, because this is hurt. And I'm saying this on camera, right? My knees hurt, my ankles hurt, my back hurt. This is stupid. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
101 days, 102, and 103. I'm in winter now. And I'm like, this isn't so bad. And winter, you're not from Minnesota. Winter here is like walking in your freezer.
Yeah, you're out there doing it, rain, sleet, snow, it doesn't matter. You're out there.
Because I told him I would, and then he held me to it. And all of these people, hey, Bill, when'd you walk? I'm like, oh, crap. So now that's how it started, because I said it to a bunch of people, and I had to hold myself to it.
There you go.
You can do this, man. If you want me to be your guy, I'll be your guy. But you don't need me.
Definitely. You inspired me, man.
I love walking with somebody, but I can hardly ever get anybody to go with me.
Yeah. Well, you like I said, you inspired me, and I'm gonna keep at it. I'm gonna keep doing it, and I just got to make it happen. So, and I appreciate you. Listen, thank you so much for taking the time to chatting with me. I really appreciate you. We'll definitely be in touch. Hopefully, we'll see each other again at Mobile Beat next year. And if not, some of the other events. But again, thank you so much. God bless. And please stay safe, man.
Thank you so much for having me on. You have a great show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And for those of you guys watching, don't forget, if you like this, hit that like button. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. And of course, click the bell so that you get notified when we have another amazing talent with us. Thanks again, Bill. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, no problem. I'll see you soon.